Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. It is a magical Monday here in the studio. So grateful to be with you all as always. Here we grow again. I think that's all the little sayings I have at the beginning. There might be a few others. Let me think. What else do I got on my sleeve? I think I covered them. All right, let's move along. Let's see. How am I going to start today? Where do I start? You know what? I think I'll go ahead and start with Nikki from Snyder, who reviewed on iTunes. Nikki said, I found this podcast through a fellow P-head that I've been friends with for a while now. She kept mentioning this podcast to me and I kept brushing it off. I finally agreed to listen to it. I was finally ready to take this step in my story, and I'm so glad I did. This podcast has really helped me understand so much about myself, life, the reality I create, and even parenting. I was struggling day to day to gentle parent with my daughter. I would get flustered and choose to be upset and overwhelmed and prioritize time over love and listening. After listening to some episodes, it was like hook, line, sinker. Your podcast spoke to me. It gave me answers I needed to hear, even if I didn't realize I needed to hear them. I am much more gentle with my parenting. I am much more understanding. I am much more loving. I am much more me. I can tune into a random episode and boom, it's like an answer to my current situation. It blows my mind how connected this all is and how truly relevant it is, not only to myself, but to so many other beautiful beings. Thank you for fueling my soul in such a positive way and helping me progress in my story of this lifetime. My whole view of the world has changed. It's like I've been wearing foggy glasses and I have finally removed them and am seeing clearly now. I have found a key to the door and am walking through it. This journey is cosmic and amazing. The reality you have helped me create is fantastic all the time. Let's be happy all the time, and all the time, let's be happy with love. Aw, thank you, Nikki. That was a beautiful review. Thank you so much for taking the time to review. It's such an honor to play a role in your unfolding story, and that is the beautiful thing about doing this work. It's like putting out a vibration, and those who are in vibrational alignment, ready, as you said, finally ready to sort of tap into it. You do the work by being a vibrational match, and then you have a friend who will beat you over the head until you listen to it or it somehow comes into your world, right? So thank you for doing the work because, I'm just a reflection of you, right? So you've done it to yourself. I'm just playing a role in that as an extension of you. And it is a beautiful dance we are all entrenched in. And I'm so appreciative. It's so much fun and so joyous, all the magic that unfolds, like you said, as we all sort of, realize we're all connected. It's all just strains of connectivity, and the synchronicity that just ripples out is so incredible and humbling and inspiring. And it's just good. And I'll add to what you said here, Nikki, about being happy all the time. And that, what's great is you're going to find yourself happy a lot of the time, but you're also going to find yourself at times where you feel out of alignment again, and maybe you're reacting to your child again. And what's great about that is these are speed bumps, right? It's like, as Abraham talks about it, when you start seeing that you're out of alignment, it's kind of like if you drift off asleep when you're driving on the freeway, interstate, and all of a sudden you hit those bumps on the side of the road that wake you up, right? look at it as that. When you are out of alignment, you're not feeling happy. Instead, just very careful not to judge that, right? Because it's really just an indicator of your alignment with higher self, with source. And, higher self source is in a state of peace, perpetual peace. It doesn't, anytime you're out of alignment with that, you're going to start feeling discontent, dis-ease, anger, or, dissatisfaction, any of those things. And those are great tools, actually. They're a necessary part of the journey, right? We can't know that which we are unless we know that which we're not. And this actually, of course, segues perfectly into what I want to talk about today, which is this idea that Alan Watts talks about as the backwards law. And this popped up this morning as I sat down with my cup of coffee to just see what wants to come through. The first thing I saw on social media was from my co-hostess with the mostess on the P-Head Posse Friday episodes, Alexa Hauser wrote or actually posted this thing, and I'll just go ahead and read it. This is a total mind F. So I'll give you a minute to unpretzel your brain and maybe read that again. Wanting positive experience is a negative experience. Accepting negative experience is a positive experience. It's what the philosopher Alan Watts used to refer to as the backwards law. The idea that the more you pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become. As pursuing something only reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. The more you desperately want to be rich, the more poor and unworthy you feel, regardless of how much money you actually make. The more you desperately want to be sexy and desired, the uglier you come to see yourself, regardless of your actual physical appearance. The more you desperately want to be happy and loved, the lonelier and more afraid you become, regardless of those who surround you. The more you want to be spiritually enlightened, the more self-centered and shallow you become in trying to get there. So this jumped out as the first thing when I opened my computer, and I was like, "Yep, this is a good one to talk about." And it's funny, of course. There's all kinds of synchronicity. The lovely, somewhat challenging reflection of self. Many of you who are in the Positive Heads Facebook group, which, by the way, if you're not there, please come join us, will recall our good friend Brian popped back up into my experience in the last 48 hours, posting on my personal Facebook page about me not understanding positive and negative, and, assuming because the show is called Positive Head, that means I have no concept of this idea that it's all ultimately happening for the greater good, right? So when I saw this, I'm like, okay, that's been bubbling up the last 48 hours. And of course I engaged with him a little bit, and, it's just sort of a loop that continues to play out. So, once again, something that wants to be clarified, popping up for further clarification. And of course I'm grateful for it, although I do and not wish to sort of continue looping the same things as well. So, this whole idea of positive and negative experience. Here's the thing. It's all relative truths. It's from what perspective are we speaking, right? So we use words as a label in this dimension that's our best way that we can sort of explain things, right? And to give energy and try and paint a picture for what we mean, right? And words obviously don't do reality justice ultimately, but from a certain perspective, there is certainly positive and negative, right? It's a way to describe an experience. I would say if someone pours boiling hot water on my head, I would call that a negative experience from one perspective. That's just using a word to say it was unpleasant or not in alignment with like peace and happiness and joy in that moment, right? I was feeling pain. And from the ultimate perspective, maybe that's happened. Everything's happening for me, and there's no mistake. So that's where you get into this idea of, it's not really negative. So I think positive, and I believe strongly positive and negative, they work as labels within a certain framework from a certain perspective, a relative truth, right? From another relative truth. You and I are separate. That's very true. From another perspective, you and I are one, right? So it's not negative to say that we're separate. It's just it's from what perspective or vantage point am I ever speaking? So using positive and negative from the vantage point of explaining a desired or undesired outcome right? Or byproduct of what's going on. If I'm having thinking that is out of alignment with higher self, it's I'm not good enough. I'm fat. I'm ugly. I'm poor. You could call that negative, right? Now, what Alan Watts is getting at now, from the ultimate perspective, let me just add on to that. That is part of the person's journey, because in order for them to come into the place of feeling actually beautiful and realizing that they're ultimately abundance, they had to go through that. It was part of the journey. And therefore, from the highest perspective, like, it really wasn't negative. And that's sort of what people get hung up on when they talk about this positive negative thing. And of course, I get that. We get that. And I'm sharing that now. It's like, it's all happening for good. There is, as Conversations with God said, I've sent you nothing but angels. It's like always happening for you. Always, always, and always. Right. But from relative truths, it's negative if I can call it and label it as negative if I run into a tree this afternoon, because it's not something that I desire to co-create in my reality. Right. So now that we've covered that, again, let's talk about this idea of a backwards law. So it's the subtleties of pursuing, right? What's said here, pursuing something only reinforces the fact you lack it in the first place. The more you desperately want to be rich, the more poor and unworthy you feel, right? Regardless of how much money you make, the more you desperately want to be sexy and desired, the uglier you come to see yourself. The more you want to be happy and loved, the lonelier and more afraid you become, regardless of who's around you. So this is such a wonderful point. This backwards law, it truly is. It's like what it's always leading us back to is realizing we are enough now. You are worthy now. Because the truth of the matter is, you're an emanation, a fractal of the one and only divine source consciousness, love itself, Mr., Mrs., King, Queen, love of all time, space, eternity, God, source, higher self, whatever you want to call it. You are that. And it is worthy. And just being here, you are so, so, so worthy. And so anytime you're pursuing something to fulfill yourself that appears to be outside of yourself, you're instantly out of alignment with how higher self sees itself, right? You are already all these things. You are already enough. You are already beautiful enough. You are already abundant. You are abundance itself. It's like searching for something that is you. It's like you're sitting on the back of a whale fishing for a minnow. You are it. And the more we can really root that into our hearts and minds, then you can start navigating where you're not, you can be seeking to acquire things to acquire more money, right? Or things to better your beauty by taking care of yourself. But it's coming now from a place of not, instead of lack and I'm not good enough, as like, wow, I'm so good as I am. And there's even room to create, on a different scale and level of this experience. So I can even more of the abundance I already am. Right? Even more of the beauty that I already am. It just continues to grow. There isn't a counterpart to it that's bad, right? And that's the perspective we're really seeking to root into our being. I am worthy exactly as I am, and thankfully there's room for growth from here. But it doesn't make it better or worse. If I were to have more money or more beauty, I'm not somehow better than where I stand today, because where I stand today is a necessary part of that journey. That journey can't even exist without there being, less, abs if I'm going to the gym, or there can't be more money there can't be $1 billion in my bank account without $100 in my bank account first. So it's all an equally beautiful, brilliant, necessary part of the journey. And where you are in your journey at this moment is as valid and beautiful and necessary as any other part of your journey that ever has been, could be, would be, will be, right? And once you really, really, really know that and ground that into that is the fundamental baseline of your operating system, now you navigate without the neediness, the desire coming from a lack. I'm going to try and fulfill myself through this external experience. You're approaching it with joyous wonder and excitement, hoping to experience something new and that you didn't foresee, as we're going to hear here in a moment. Alan Watts talk about this very thing. That's becomes, now it's joyous and fun. You're not trying to be anything. You are it. Right? You guys have heard me talk about it before. My initials are BBB, which is like try B. And I made a music project years ago, TRY-BE, right? It's like, oh, play on words of try B. It's like, really, no, like you can't ever try to be. You can only be. It's like, it's an oxymoron. It's like rather TRIBE is tribe. We're all one. It's all already there. It's all already within you, right? Pretty sure I wanted to give myself that lesson. And now as I sort of reflect that out, it ripples out and we all, sort of root into our being that we are all of it now. It is all as valid and as necessary. The experiences that you have, you don't need to chase anything, anyone. I was talking about this with my friend Everett yesterday, this whole coming to a place in relationship where it's like, I don't chase anyone or anything or have any neediness. There's so much of that sort of energy in a romantic relationship, right? So much. It's like, out there, there's the guys chasing and the women sort of being, guys are the dogs and women are the cats, right? Kind of fickle, and maybe they'll come up next to you. Maybe they'll be like, want nothing to do with you. And guys are like these panting dogs, like chasing all the time. It's like, when you're completely fulfilled in yourself, you don't need to chase anything. You can curiously explore. You can be the dog that's like, what's over here? What's going on? Let me sniff this out, right? Oh, okay. That's not really something that is in alignment or feels right for me. Cool. All right. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to chase anything, anywhere. And then it all comes to you. That's the beautiful thing about it. Then it starts all flowing to you. When you are completely at peace with where you are and coming from this state of fullness and abundance, watch the ripple, watch as my new friend John, who's going to be helping with the Optimistic Show, said yesterday, I walked across $100 bill yesterday. Oh, I'm just so lucky. And you can just see it in his aura. It's like this bubbling with peace and goodness and clarity. It's like, yeah, of course you're stumbling across $100 bills. It's coming to you. You are it, right? It's a beautiful thing where we're at. You're all getting this. This is all like, we are like rooting this in further and further and further. No more of chasing anything. You're done with that chapter. And you're thankful that you had the experience so you can experience where you're at now. All right, let's take a listen here. I have a short talk here, a few minutes. This is Alan Watts. It's titled, "This Is Why You're Not Happy." I found it on the Word Porn YouTube page. It has a little music to it and just sort of helps to drill this in even further and from some unique perspective, the wonderful perspective of Alan, who originally talked about the backwards law. Let's take a listen.
Desire. What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like? Let's suppose, I do this often in vocational guidance of students. They come to me and say, well, we're getting out of college and we haven't the faintest idea what we want to do. So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, you can't earn any money that way. Or another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life and ride horses. I say, do you want to teach in a riding school? Then let's go through with it. What do you want to do? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important thing, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way. And after all, if you do really like what you're doing, it doesn't matter what it is, you can eventually you could eventually become a master of it. It's the only way to become a master of something, to be really with it. And then you'll be able to get a good fee for whatever it is. So don't worry too much. Somebody's interested in everything. And anything you can be interested in, you'll find others who are. But it's absolutely stupid to spend your time doing things you don't like in order to go on spending things you don't like, doing things you don't like, and to teach your children to follow in the same track. See, what we're doing is we're bringing up children and educating them to live the same sort of lives we're living, in order that they may justify themselves and find satisfaction in life by bringing up their children, to bring up their children to do the same thing, so it's all retch and no vomit. It never gets there. And so, therefore, it's so important to consider this question: what do I desire? Well, when we answer that question in a naive way, we figure out that we want to desire, what we want is to control everything. To create girls that don't grow old, apples that don't rot, clothes that never wear out, conveyances that get from one place to another instantly so we don't have to wait, power available to do anything that you could conceive and do it just instantly like that. To get this funny technological omnipotence. But if you take time out to think about that and really go into it with your full strength of imagination and find out whether that's where you want to be, you will soon see that's not what you want. Because the moment you have a situation where you are really in control of things, that is to say, in which the future is almost completely predictable, you will see, as I said last night, that a completely predictable future is already the past. You've had it. And that's not what you want. You want a surprise. You don't know what that's going to be, because obviously it wouldn't be a surprise if you did. You want a pleasant surprise. But like you say, what sort of a surprise would be pleasant? And you can't really answer that. Because you know, if there are to be such things as pleasant surprises, there must also be unpleasant surprises. There must be rude shocks. So you're like somebody taking one of those wishing well boxes, tubs, where you fish in and you bring out a package. And you don't know whether you've got a dead rat in it or a new camera. And that's the way, that seems to be the thing that really excites people. But quite certainly there comes out of this inquiry a feeling of real disillusionment with the ideal of power. To be in power, to be in control, is not something that any sensible person wants. Imagine the situation of Big Brother. Mr. J. Edgar Hoover, Heinrich Himmler. To be glued day and night to a highly defended office with telephones, television screens, watching, peeking, spying on everyone and anything, getting all this information together. Why? You could never leave the office. I mean, the character, I suppose, like J. Edgar Hoover, goes home in the evening, and but when he's back home, there are guards sitting outside the door. There's that hotline telephone going to something. He's always having to be in control. And so when you think things through like that, you understand you do not want power. don't want to control everything. And therefore, these Zen Buddhist masters that I met and others were not super occultists. And very many Westerners who visited Japan expecting to get a satori, as a result of which they would know everything and control everything, were grievously disappointed and said there's not much in this after all.
All retching, no vomit. That's the old path, right? Chasing. Just do it. It makes me think of my friend Ronit talking about meeting someone in Bali. I think I mentioned this the other day, and the guy was like, people are working their whole life, this very simple person living on the beach every day, surfing and hanging out. And he's like, he didn't have much of anything, but he was very joyous in what he was doing. And he's like, people work their whole lives to get this money so that they can come and then live a life like I'm living right now, right? He just shortcutted right to it. It's like, you don't need to, like, if you're doing it for the money to get somewhere else, that's a red flag. Be very, very cautious of that, because there are creative ways around that typically, if you're willing to have faith and trust in the universe and its ability to support you in you just living out and living out your dream, believing that you're worthy to find it. There's so many ways. We are so creative. The universe is so creative. Higher self is so creative. You are so creative. You are creators, right? So there are many, many, many ways to accomplish something. Right. And people, who was I was talking the other day with someone about the phrase, there are many ways to skin a cat. And we're like, who skins a cat? We need to come up with a new way to say that. Like, what is a new way to get that same point across? Because I don't like it either. So you guys let me know if you have an alternative to that. We need to come up with something creative. Speaking of being creative, let's be creative and let's reinvent how we say that. Get that point across, and something that's not so like, not so dark. I love how he says here, figure out, what do you desire? And then realizing, like, really getting in tune with what you desire, and not the sort of the in-betweens, right? The barriers that are sort of in between it. That's really a key point that he's making here, that a lot of us, I know for me, a lot of my life, I've thought I needed to get the money to do the things that I wanted to do, right? And then it's like an endless loop of chasing that money to do it. I don't want to see others make that mistake. And it's a tricky one. It's subtle. There's a lot of nuance there. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be. It hasn't been easy, at least for me. It doesn't mean that has to be the case for others. Others can figure it out maybe in 2 seconds, right? But it's your life is supposed to be challenging and surprising to some degree, as he says, right? You want a pleasant surprise. And in order for there to be a pleasant surprise, as he said, there must be unpleasant surprises. You didn't really want to control everything. And that's a big one, right? As we learn that we are creators of our reality, it's like, it's sort of this dance between the things you control and the things you don't, right? There are certain things you're going to control, and there are certain surprises that are going to come. It's going to be a mashup of those things, right? So when you start learning the art of living, the art of navigating 3D reality is learning how to do that dance in a way that understands it's a combination of those things. You're learning how to consciously create, and you also know there's things beyond your control that are going to come in that are somehow a reflection at some level of you, whether something, a vibrational offering of, years back in your life, maybe a previous existence, physical incarnation, but you trust whatever's coming through, right? So in that way, you don't necessarily control everything. I mean, if I did something in a past life, and all of a sudden I'm seeing a reflection of it and it wants to come and be balanced out. Well, from my memory in this life, I didn't really, once again, it's all relative truths. From a certain perspective, I didn't control that. From a higher perspective, I did control it, right? So that's sort of finding the understanding the complexity of this dance and sort of relaxing into it all. And really at the end of it, it's I have so much faith in my higher self and like what we're co-creating together. It's like, whatever you want for me, whatever is meant to come my way, I am just going to embrace it with open arms. And I am going to know that it's ultimately happening for me and not to me. And it's happening through me at some level. Even if I can't necessarily, in some cases, I can totally see how it happened through me, and others, it's it's more nuanced and layered. It's somewhere buried in deeper layers of the onion of my existence, right? I need to find another word because that's one of my onions are a great example, and I talk about them a lot being so layered, but that's like one of the only foods I'm not a fan of. So for now that one works, but the skin the cat thing, let's figure out. I'm sure someone will send me some creative variations. All right, all you positive heads, this has been miraculous, magnificent, and lovely. Thank you for being. Thank you for showing up. We have everything we need. I have everything I need. Trevor Hall seems to think he has everything he needs because he sings about it in the song called Everything I Need. Till next time, journey well. Love you all so, so much.
Also, before we cue up today's song, as a quick reminder, don't forget to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.
I have everything I need. I have everything I need. I have everything I need. From the mountain to the sea, I have everything I need. 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 From the mountain to the sea, all of this is within me. I have everything I need. 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 From the mountain to the sea, I have everything I need. 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 From the mountain to the sea, all of this is within me. I have everything I need. The fruitful darkness is all around us. The fruitful darkness is all around us. The fruitful darkness is all around us. The fruitful darkness is all around us.